I mean, what the fuck was that, dude? Hey, coming up here on today's show, I'm going to give you my reaction to that Pete Carroll presser that I just listened to. And it's not really that I'm going to point the finger and blame Pete for what he said, because believe me, Pete at this point is just wasting all of our times. I mean this to any single beat reporter out there. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to give you some questions to actually ask, because the questions that are being asked at Pete Carroll pressers tell me one thing, and I'm actually happy about it, because it's one of the reasons why people watch this show. It's because actually I prove every single day, we prove here that we actually know the pulse of the fan base. Because if you were at that Pete Carroll presser today, I hope you click on this video and hope that you learn a little bit about what this fan base thinks, what this fan base wants to hear, and ultimately questions that actually are worth asking at a Pete Carroll presser. Because our beat reporters, holy shit, man. You guys are softer than anything I could possibly think of right now. And if you want actual content to listen to, I hope that you hit that subscribe button, and I hope you turn on those notifications, because I'm actually going to give you something worth listening to. Like, I can't even imagine showing up to my job on Monday after the Raiders lost 31-14 and asking and writing down the questions that were asked today to Pete Carroll. It's a joke, dude. Like, and again, it's always top to bottom. And what I really want to know is, because I've learned this year specifically that a lot of the questions have to get pre-approved. Well, let's get a little bit more creative on what questions to ask. And if those questions today were asked and they weren't pre-approved, well, then I really think that you should look yourself in the mirror and really ask yourself if you are actually good enough at your job to be able to do it. And if there's any beat reporter that's got something to say to me, again, you can find me at Mitchell Renz 365. My DMs are open to you. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm here on the Raiders Report. But man, oh man, oh man. Like, why the hell did I even listen to that? Because I'm pretty sure if you listen to that Pete Carroll presser today, you would have thought the Raiders were a good team, that the Raiders are fine. Like, everything's cupcakes, butterflies, and rainbows. I mean, we're a 2-10 football team. We got to win week 1 against New England. The only team we've been able to beat ever since is the Tennessee Titans. And we look like the worst team in the NFL. But if you listen to that Pete Carroll presser, we had good communication, right? Geno Smith played well. I can't even believe what I'm listening to, because I know it's not easy being a beat reporter. I know it's not easy being able to get in that room. And I know it's a privilege to be able to sit up there and ask a head football coach some questions. So let's start acting like it is a privilege to ask a football coach those questions. Because I'll tell you this right now, the questions that y'all are asking, they're a joke. And I sit here and I was literally sitting back going, I don't know if I'm going to make a video here on this Pete Carroll presser. And again, what Pete says at this point is it's just a bunch of malarkey. I don't believe anything that guy, not that I don't believe anything he has to say, but nothing that he's saying at this point, has any value. Like, I don't need multiple questions on Max Crosby. Like, I know what Max Crosby is. You know what Max Crosby is, and I don't need a softball question for a coach that's 2-10, and we look this bad right now. Like, can a beat reporter actually come out and say, yeah, actually the questions that are being asked are screened beforehand, so we have to ask certain questions? I would gain so much more respect, just like I would have gained so much more respect for Geno Smith if he would apologize to Raider fans the day that he flipped us all the bird. No, we waited until Wednesday, until they could prep, until they could plan, until you guys threw him a softball question, and then he rehearsed one, right? Like, it's a joke, and it's sad because fans want answers. Fans, like the media, to me, the reason why Raiders beat reporters are an afterthought and why people come to YouTube and why people listen to a lot of people like me and other content creators out there, it's because we're not afraid to ask the difficult question. I get it. I'm not in that room. And, maybe it's a lot easier for me to say that. But also at the exact same time, you got a platform. Freaking use it, right? Like, it's sad, man. Like, Pete Carroll literally said in that presser today, the mentality of this group is worth fighting for. The mentality of the group is worth fighting for. Hang on. I'm getting myself riled up, and this is probably why I shouldn't have made this video, because I literally told my wife a few minutes ago, I was like, I'm actually starting to feel a little bit better. I'll tell you what, that last video I did, that ended badly, and I'm glad I got out of here when I did, because that would not have been good for my computer. I'll tell you that right now. But when I listen to these Pete Carroll pressers, and when I look at Pete talk, and you could tell, dude's lost, he's confused, he doesn't have any answers, and honestly, it looks like a 74-year-old guy that's trying to raise a newborn baby, because let's face it, like, that's what the Raiders are right now. They are a full-on rebuild project, and it's like waking up multiple times in the middle of the night trying to raise a newborn. He looks tired, he looks exhausted, and our football team is a joke. Pete, dude, come on, man. Like, I actually think I'd have a little bit more respect for Pete if he was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, because I know you can't do it anymore. We know you can't do it anymore. But, like, Pete also said in that press conference that he hasn't talked to the team yet. How the flip is that possible? Because yesterday, Geno Smith talked to the media first. It wasn't Pete Carroll. I don't know who Pete talked to. I've been calling around. I've been messaging some people today about why was Pete the second guy to speak to the podium, because typically when that happens, it means Pete's having a little powwow with someone. I don't know if that ends up happening or not. But my question to the nation out here is this. If you think our beat reporters suck, hit that like button, because I'm right on board with you. And I'm not saying that they suck in terms of maybe getting stories out, though I don't know the last time that a beat reporter has actually given us a story worth a damn. And I saw another guy today, again, I'm not going to mention him by name, but he was saying like, oh, I believe everything that Pete Carroll has said, and I don't believe any of the reports around Chip Kelly, blah, blah, blah. We know who the puppets are. We know who the Raiders are going to use as puppets. And again, it's why I'm actually proud to not call myself a beat reporter, because I'm never going to be a puppet. You're not going to be able to shove your hand up my ass and make my mouth talk. That's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. It's not what I represent. It's not why people watch this show. It's not what Chat Sports is. It's everything wrong with Big J journalism, and it's everything wrong with the Raiders beat reporters now. If you want to be a puppet, then go be a Raiders beat reporter is how I feel right now. So how about this? Since our beat reporters have no idea what the hell they're doing, they have no idea what the hell the correct questions to ask, what's one question that you want Raiders beat reporters to ask Pete Carroll at his next press conference on Wednesday? Because coming up on this show, I have 9 questions. 9 questions that I want asked at the next Raiders press conference with Pete Carroll. And I guarantee you this, every one of those questions is light years better. And it not only is a light years better of a question, it just shows that you know what the hell is going on. Take a little pride in your job, for the love of God. Like, that's all it is. It's just having a pulse on the fan base. Like, and if you're not going to ask questions for the fans, then why else? I shouldn't say that. If you're not going to ask questions for the fans in a 2-10 season, then at least ask some questions about the future. Because I don't give a shit about right now. Right now, I know the same song and dance. The song and dance right now is the Raiders suck, Geno Smith sucks, the offensive line sucks, and this team sucks from top to bottom. I don't need 3 questions on Max Crosby about what does it mean to have Max Crosby when you're in a season like this. Who gives a flying flip, right? Like, I don't care about it. I got 9 questions, and I hope somebody writes these down, and I hope somebody sends them to a beat reporter, and I hope somebody is like, hey, can we get these questions going? Because these are questions that are worth asking at a Raiders press conference. Before I get into that, though, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks, and it's the holiday season, the best time of the year, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which games to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that's on Prize Picks. If your fantasy season is over, which I'll say this right now, my fantasy season might be over. Fingers crossed. I need a big day for Drake May tonight. I'm actually playing my dad in my family fantasy league, and I need Drake May to go off a little bit for me tonight. I'm not going to lie to you. I need like 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, maybe a third, but I need a dub. But you know what? If my fantasy season ends up getting cooked, just like the Raiders season's cooked, I'm going to be on Prize Picks because I don't got to wait until next year. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football every week. Pick your favorite players, or you want to pick the players that you just can't stand. Like, I've been going with anything against Geno Smith recently. Like, I've been going less on Geno Smith passing yards. It's It's pretty good. Though, again, Pete Carroll was really happy about 165-yard, 2-touchdown. Luckily, Brock Bowers caught a ball that I don't even know how Brock Bowers caught it, and he had an interception. And it was a great play by the Chargers. But that's the Pete Carroll problem. Pete Carroll can't go, well, yeah, Geno probably shouldn't have forced that ball in that situation in there. But instead he's like, oh, it's just a great play by the Chargers. It is a great play by the Chargers, but it was also an ill-advised throw by Geno Smith. And when you have 14 interceptions and you lead the NFL in interceptions, sooner or later we can't just have all these great plays. Sometimes it's bad throws. But I do love how straightforward Prize Picks is. I don't have to spend a lot of time trying to calculate my payouts. Prize Picks makes it easy for their payout multipliers, whether it's just a simple 3x or a big 2,000 times multiplier. My guy Weldinator, dude, he always sends me like these crazy Prize Picks lineups where dude could retire, I swear, if he hits on one of these. But like that makes it fun. Like I think you got to be able to find the lineup that you want to be able to do, whatever makes it fun for you. Like that's what Prize Picks is about. But that straightforwardness from Prize Picks, holy shit, do I wish we had some straightforwardness from our Raiders beat reporters. But I just don't think anybody's got enough stones on them to ask the actual questions that we want to hear. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Coming up right now, I got 9 questions. 9 questions for any beat reporter out there that gives a shit about their job, that gives a shit about Raiders fans, that actually wants to hear what Raiders fans want to know. Because, again, and I get it, a lot of those beat reporters, they are just beat reporters. Like that is their job. And they're not a fan of the team. They have no idea what's going on social media. They have no pulse of the team. And I get it because I've talked to some of those guys before. I'll admit I've talked to a lot of our older beat reporters compared to some of the guys that are doing the job now. And if you're new to the gig, I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to come at you in terms of, again, questioning your manhood. It's something that I don't want to do. But we've been in this situation so many times now. And again, it's a privilege to be there. So ask questions ask questions that deserve to be asked. Like asking questions that have no meaning, no value at all. You're wasting your time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting Pete Carroll's time. And for a 74-year-old guy, I don't know how much time Pete's got left. So I want some questions that actually have value. The most important thing in life is time. And the moment you start wasting my time, the moment you start wasting Raider Nation's time, you're damn right I get fired up about it. So here's 9 questions for Raiders beat reporters if they give a flying flip about their job. Question number 1. Geno Smith has struggled this season on and off the field. Would you consider starting another quarterback this season? I don't think that's that outlandish of a question. You've had a quarterback who has had issues before the season even started, yelling at high school kids saying, this is why they pay me the big bucks. You've had a quarterback that's had terrible body language on and off the field, that has ignored the black hole, that has ignored multiple big-time Raiders fans, that has flipped off Raiders fans multiple times, and yet on top of that, he hasn't played well in the season. Like, if Geno Smith was putting up good numbers and flipping off birds to fans, I'd probably sit here going, well, he's playing well. He hasn't played well. We're 2-10. Like, I think an honest head coach would sit there and go, all right, we're 2-10. How can I try to save my job? Right? Like, how can I try to save my job? Because the fans hate Geno Smith. It's clear to everybody. And if he can't see how hated Geno Smith is, then he clearly is way too old for this job. But if I was in Pete Carroll's shoes and I saw, man, this fan base really hates Geno Smith. Man, Geno Smith really hasn't played well this season. Man, Geno Smith looks nothing like the Geno Smith quarterback that I brought here, traded for, gave a contract extension to. And if I'm trying to save my job, maybe it makes a little sense to go out and try to to try to start another quarterback. That is a logical thing. Like, if I was in Pete Carroll's shoes and I was 2-10, I would try to save my job and I would try to start another quarterback. I think it's a very reasonable question. Question number 2. Fans want to see Aidan O'Connell this season. Why are you making him an emergency quarterback every week? Very reasonable question. You traded for Kenny Pickett. Nobody wants to see Kenny Pickett. I know why you're making I know why you're making Aidan O'Connell emergency quarterback. Because you know that fans want to see him. And that you know that every time Geno struggles, fans want to see Aidan O'Connell play. So what's the decision-making process? Like, why are you making him the emergency quarterback? Maybe you should make Kenny Pickett. Like, maybe another question I could add. Why not let Aidan O'Connell be the backup quarterback and make Kenny Pickett the emergency quarterback? I think that's a fair question. Like, what's the answer behind it? Because there is a rhyme and a reason to everything that happens, right? There is. So what's the decision-making process to you always making Aidan O'Connell the emergency quarterback? The answer is simple. You're a coward, Pete. And that's it. This coaching staff is cowardly. You're doing it because you know that fans want to see Aidan O'Connell, and you know the only way that it's going to happen is if Geno Smith gets hurt and if Kenny Pickett gets hurt. Let's go to question number 3, shall we? The Raiders' offensive line has allowed 26 sacks the past 4 weeks without JPJ. Do you regret not playing him at center at the beginning of the season? Like, I mean, if we're going to talk about numbers and stats and blah, 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 the Raiders' offensive line has never been worse than what it is right now. And it's really, really bad on that interior. And it's really bad on the interior because JPJ isn't on the interior. Now, don't get me wrong. DJ Glaze has been atrocious on the right side. Stone Forsythe is actually starting to play like the Stone Forsythe that we saw in Seattle. Like, I know people were like, a few weeks ago, when Pete was like, oh, Stone's playing the best football of his career. What's sad is that's true. Stone was playing the best football of his career. But, you know, if you're going to say Geno Smith played well, and if you're going to say Geno Smith, you know, needs more time to throw, which I don't totally disagree with, but also Geno's got to be able to create, right? Like, when you watch the tape, and I don't know if Pete's watched the tape yet at this point. Again, he looks like he just woke up from hibernation. I think that you're going to see a lot of those sacks are on Geno. More of the sacks are on the offensive line for being bad. But for a quarterback that was supposed to at least be able to move a little bit, I mean, if you were to just show tape of Geno Smith and you were to like block out the player, like almost like, you know what I've seen it on social media where you just see like the outline of the player. I think people think it's Aidan O'Connell. I mean, I'll say this right now. I think Aidan O'Connell's showing more ability to manipulate a pocket than Geno Smith. Because what Geno Smith does, it reminds me of a game that my friends and I used to play when we used to play backyard football. We used to put a hula hoop in the backyard. And essentially the quarterback had to stand in that hula hoop. It prevented us from scrambling because when you don't have enough guys, you get one guy that can scramble and, you know, it just turns into a backyard scramble fest. We wanted to actually throw. We wanted to play defense. It's how we played. So what we would do is we'd put a quarterback in the hula hoop, and if you wanted to be able to bring that delayed blitz, you were able to bring it, but that guy had to stand in that hula hoop. I don't know if Geno Smith is meant to stand in a hula hoop, but the dude's not moving, and he's just so clearly unable to move, so clearly unconfident in his ability to manipulate pockets. And it's why I'm like, what on God's earth? Like, what happened? And I get it. Some guys hit a cliff. You know, I'm about to be 33 years old, and I don't feel nearly the same as what I did when I was, you know, a few years ago. But man, oh man, I mean, when you look at him being 35 years old, I mean, Geno Smith looks 40 years old, and it's very, very relevant to me. Let's go to question number 4. You fired Tom McMahon and Chip Kelly for poor coaching performance. What's your message to your son, the offensive line coach? What's your message to him? Like, again, if you're going to fire people, and Tom McMahon deserved to be fired, Chip Kelly deserved to be fired, there's a lot of other people that deserve to be fired. But why is that question not being asked? Like, why is the question of not, hey, what's your message to your son, the offensive line coach? What's your message to him? I just want to know that message. Like, does he know that his job's on the line? Does he know how bad of a job he's doing? Does he know that essentially every single Raiders offensive lineman this season has massively regressed outside of Colton Miller? But again, Colton Miller, different. Max Crosby, different. Brock Bowers, different. But you look at every single Raiders offensive lineman, they have massively regressed from last season. Jordan Meredith, massively regressed. DJ Glaze, massively regressed. You can't tell me that Dylan Parham, massively regressed. Like, it's really, really frustrating that we're still having these types of issues in week 13. And if I got to watch Pete Carroll pressers, again, you're just wasting my time. And I feel like on game days for Raiders games, y'all are just wasting my time the exact same thing. But you know what? Like, let's start asking some questions, beat reporters. Let's go to question number 5. Hang on. Question number 5. Can you please comment on the reports around you having influence on the Chip Kelly offense? I mean, I would say one of the biggest stories that I got asked yesterday, and again, I wanted to make some videos over the weekend. I have not felt well for quite some time, and I had some family in for the holiday, so I was like, you know what? The 2-9, 2-10 Pete Carroll Raiders, they're going to take a back seat, and I'm going to spend some time with my family. And, you know, like that question, and it's also kind of my next question here. Can you please comment on the reports around Chip Kelly not calling the correct plays? If the reports are coming out, okay, and again, when you see reports like that, and when you see where the reports are coming from, when you see Ian Rappaport report something, he's got something outside of the building. When you see guys like, you know, Hondo and all, they report something, that's coming from Pete, and that's coming directly from the source, right? But when statements like that are made, when reports like that are made, it's because the PR team of Pete, the PR team of Chip Kelly, they're trying to save face. Again, I have no problem with people trying to save face because, you know, what else could you possibly try to do with this bad of a year? But, you know, like I would want, like I hope that Raiders players, if they hear me talking bad about them, would want to come talk to me face to face. Like I've had multiple Raiders players, you know, talk to me face to face, and you know, guys that, you know, I've kind of ripped apart a little bit. And I think that you have some players that handle it the right way, where they're like, listen, like he's just doing his job. I'm just doing my job. I'm going to tell you how it is. And if you don't like it, you know, like that's just how it is. Like you don't have to watch this show. You don't have to respond to me. You can ignore me. That's totally fine. You can block me. But like at the same time, though, like when those reports are coming out, there's a reason why they're coming out. So either, and I just want to hear Pete's comments on them. Like, what are your comments on them? And I know I'm not the only one. I think Raider fans would love to know the comments, because would Pete be like, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true at all. Okay, that's your statement then. But is it true? I wanted to know Pete Carroll's comments on the Chip Kelly reports around his offense not calling the right plays. But I also wanted to hear the reports on Pete Carroll having a lot of influence on the Chip Kelly offense, because according to Ian Rappaport, multiple defensive coordinators, when watching Pete Carroll's Chip Kelly tape, I guess, said that they thought that the offense was way similar to the 2023 Shane Waldron Seahawks offense. An offense, by the way, that was an absolute disaster. And Shane Waldron then went somewhere else and, you know, was a lot different of a coach. And then you look at the Chip Kelly offense. My point is, I don't believe anything Pete Carroll says, and I do think Pete has a lot of influence. And for anybody, again, like I saw Hondo say that he believes that Chip Kelly got to do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, and Pete Carroll had no influence on it at all. If he wants to believe it, that's totally fine. The only reason why I don't believe it is because if you think for a second that Pete Carroll doesn't have an influence on something that impacts Geno Smith, I got some unbelievable beachfront property for you, Hondo, in Wyoming. I'd love to be able to sell it to you. Let's go here to question number 7. What's more important to you as a head coach, the success of Geno Smith or the success of the Las Vegas Raiders? I just want to see how he'd answer it. He'd laugh, and he would obviously say the Raiders. But, like, you know, there was multiple plays yesterday that, and the number one that came to my mind, it's because it's the last play of the game. It's 4th and 13. I get it. At this point, the game is over. But when you watch Geno Smith play, Geno Smith is not trying to score points. Geno Smith is trying to not throw interceptions. And I do think there's a big what's the right word? He's not trying to throw interceptions. I don't know the word I'm looking for. But he's 18 of 23, good completion percentage, 165 yards. It's a lot of dinking and dunking, and it's safe throws. Now, a few of the throws that he made, again, the one interception, that was a nice play by the Chargers. It was also an ill-advised throw by Geno to target Dante Thornton Jr. in double coverage. Like, you know, again, Dante probably should have tried to come down with that ball, but also at the same time, like, Dante Thornton has struggled this season, and throwing a ball to Dante Thornton when there's 2 Chargers defenders there, even if it's by the sideline, I would say is probably not the best decision to make. And again, the Chargers made a really good play on that football. But that 4th and 13 play where, again, you're just giving up. And you said earlier, Pete, that this is a team worth fighting for. Like, to me, I want a team that fights till the very end, even if you're down 31-14, right? Like, I don't want to watch a Jake Paul boxing match that's an absolute joke and it's not going to, like, it's a shitty fight. I want to see a fight like, I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was Nate Diaz. No, it was Max Holloway. It was Max Holloway, and I forget who the other fighter was, but Max literally, like, points to the center of the ring, and if there's any UFC guys out there, please give me the other name of the fighter. But one of the greatest UFC fights I've ever saw was Max Holloway, and there's like 5 seconds left in that fight, and Max points to the middle of that ring, and they just are like throwing freaking haymakers. The guy gets knocked out. Max ends up winning it, but like that's an entertainment, right? Max knew the assignment. The assignment was, let's put on a freaking show for these fans, and that's the warrior mentality. It's the I'm going to fight until the very end mentality. The Pete Carroll Raiders to fold like they did on 4th down and 13, just run the ball. Again, 4th and 13, you're running the football. You're literally losing on purpose to end the game that way. I think the only reason why they did it is because, you would have had to force a football more than 14 yards down the field. And I don't think Pete wanted to do that to Geno. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And again, there's so many other examples that I could probably point to this season that illustrate that. And that question there is probably an unfair question to ask. But you know what also is an unfair thing? To waste my time every single press conference. Let's go to question number 8. You preach compete, Pete. What led to the decision to play Devin White after he gave up on the first touchdown drive and have multiple 15-yard penalties in the first quarter? What would he say to it, right? Because I've seen Pete Carroll bench rookies for way less. I've seen Pete Carroll bench young players for way less. There was even a time where Pete Carroll, and I don't remember the exact quote that he made, but it was along the lines of like, yeah, well, if they don't get it cleaned up, or if the young players don't stop making mistakes, they're not going to get on the field. Again, the problem with the Pete Carroll Raiders is you pick favorites all the time. So I would just want to know, again, you said you watched the tape, Pete. What led to the decision where Devin White, and if you don't remember the play, it's the first touchdown drive, 14 plays, 74 yards, and luckily Justin Herbert got hurt, and I actually think I saw today that he had a bad hand injury, and I don't remember the extent of the injury, but again, he got hurt, and I think if Justin Herbert doesn't hurt his hand, that 31-14 game is a much bigger of a blowout, and I can't be the only person that thinks that. And again, we still lost by 17 points, and what's crazy is it doesn't even feel like we lost that bad. It felt like a game that was kind of close. And Pete said it, he's like, oh, we thought we were going to be able to win that game going into the second half. We were tied 7-7. Good teams make adjustments in the second half. Bad coach teams don't. Guess who didn't make a lot of adjustments in the second half? And the Chargers, I don't even think did anything special. They were just like, we're better than you, and we're going to show you we're better than you, and we're more physical than you. And, they beat us at, I think, Pete's own game. Pete wants to be a physical football team, and yet, I don't know what's softer, our Raiders team or our Raiders beat reporters. I really do not know. But am I the only one that just sits back and I wonder, again, Devin White's been awful this season. And again, the way that they use Devin White's not the right way. It's because they don't know what to do with the players. If Devin White should have played the Jermaine Pratt role, let Devin White be an edge rusher. Let him get after the quarterback. Put him on the defensive line. You should have dropped Jermaine Pratt back into coverage because he was your best coverage linebacker. Instead, they did the exact opposite. Why? I have no idea why. I have no idea why. And I think it's, again, they come up with this idea in their mind. They're too stubborn to change, and they're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And, I had a few fans tell me, well, Mitch, if you bench Devin White, who do you play there? I don't freaking know, man. Put Jeremy Chin at linebacker and put one of your, honestly, there you go. Put Jeremy Chin at that linebacker spot. Let Jamal Adams rotate in a little bit more. And then if you're just dying to get Kaya Blue Kelly out there on the field, let Darian Porter continue to play, because I thought Darian Porter played pretty freaking well. And then if you want to get rid of that bigger nickel situation, maybe you put Lonnie Johnson Jr. where you were playing Jeremy Chin. And then, I don't know, maybe you add Kai Blue Kelly into the secondary somewhere. I hate the fact that you, like, how can you say compete? And again, like today, you're talking about, Antonio Mafia and Caleb Rogers fighting for their job. I don't mind the idea of guys fighting for their job, but why do certain players not have to fight for their job? Why does Geno Smith not have to fight for his job? Why does Devin White not have to fight for his job? Why does Alex Kappa not have to fight for a job, right? Like, why does JPJ have to do everything in his power to show you that he deserves to fight for a job? It's just the same bullshit over and over and over again, and I'm starting to lose I've lost all of my patience at this time for the Pete Carroll Raiders, but again, I just want to know, why does Devin White get to play that entire game after literally giving up on that touchdown drive? Because Devin White, on the coverage, missed the receiver caught the ball. I don't remember who the hell caught the first touchdown pass there for the Chargers. Catches the ball. He's at the 3-yard line, and Devin White just stopped. Like, go back and watch the play, the first touchdown play. Devin White just stopped. And then there's a missed tackle, and Devin's like, oh, wait, maybe I should try to get involved here. And then, he's fighting forward, and he's just standing there watching. He gave up on the play. Why does he continue to get to play the entire game? And then he also made multiple 15-yard penalties. Like, that's multiple mistakes, and he gave up on the play. Why does Devin White get to continue to play? My final question to Pete Carroll would have been this. The Raiders are 2-10. The Raiders have missed the playoffs yet again. Why do you deserve to be back next season? I would get rock hard if I heard a Raiders beat reporter ask that question. Why do you deserve to be back, Pete? Tell me one thing. Tell me one thing that I can hang my freaking hat on here and say, okay, Pete Carroll deserves to be back. Because I think, honestly, the only answer that Pete Carroll could give, it's this organization has been a disaster for a long time, way before me, and I don't totally disagree with that. I will say the Pete Carroll Raiders, I think, are the worst team that Mark Davis, since he's been the owner, has been a part of. Like, I really do think that. I think the Pete Carroll Raiders are the worst team that Mark Davis has ever been a part of, where he's been, the owner of the team. So to me, either Pete Carroll's got to sit up there and go, I deserve to be back because it starts at the very top and Mark Davis is a bad owner, or to me, like, that's the only thing that Pete can point at, because there is not a single place where I think the Raiders have improved from last season. In a year where we had 11 draft picks, top 3 salary cap space, Pete got all of the things that he wanted. New OC, Patrick Graham got a raise. There's no way Pete Carroll could give me an answer to that. So I know I asked a lot of questions here, and I hope that somebody shares this video. I know it's a little bit longer of a video. I wanted to make a longer video, the one that I did this morning, but again, I also didn't want to throw up on this show. To everybody sending me all my best wishes, greatly, greatly appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow at the studio. I will be live on the Raiders Report, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. You can guarantee that. I will already admit I'm starting to feel a lot better. It's probably been the longest I've gone without actually getting sick. So we're definitely making progress. My wife, she's been making me soup. She's been feeding me Pedialyte. And, I saw a few Raiders fans reach out to her and were basically like, shout out to her. Because I know I said yesterday multiple times, like, man, she's been taking care of me like you can't even believe. And I got the greatest wife in the world, and that's honestly what I think. She's been doing a great job. So I will be back at work tomorrow, though. I know there was a lot of questions, and I know the Pete Carroll presser was a waste of time, and I hope that you guys don't think that this show was a waste of time, because I love what I do. I take a lot of pride in what I do, and if you're a Raiders beat reporter and you get upset about any of the comments that I made today, again, I'm not hard to find. I don't think that I'm difficult to find at all. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. You can tweet at me. You can post something. You can tell me to DM you. I would love to be able to learn a little bit more about what you can and cannot say. But in my shoes right now, again, I am not an insider. I don't want to be a Raiders beat reporter. I am a fan that gives my opinion, and I am not afraid to give it. And I'm also not afraid to ask the difficult questions. So if you're a Raiders beat reporter and you feel some type of way about this video, come holler at me. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. If you're looking for even more content around the Las Vegas Raiders, make sure you click the subscribe button right here. I promise you, I'm going to do everything in my power to keep you guys up to date. YouTube's going to recommend these two videos right here, though my dog Chuck is licking my right leg, so I think you should pick this one here. Bottom line is this. Win, lose, or tie, Raider Nation till I die. I'm going to get you guys videos every single day, and I will be live tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Can't wait to see you guys then.